Chinese use is based on pathological patterns of diseases. In various organs is used for notating the disorders of organs or syndromes, which represents the state and health of the patient in a whole. In TCM, the whole body is taken as treatment and not a particular part. Whereas in Western medicine, particular symptom or part is treated. Like if you have a problem in heart, then there is a cardiology department. If you have a problem in some intestine or digestion problem, there is gastroenterologist. If you have some urinary problems or such as, then it is connected with the kidney and bladder, so it is ruled out by urologist and nephrologist. If you have any eye problems, it is been taken care by the ophthalmologist, etc. The Western medicines define diagnostic terms in context of TCM would be very true and enough, where most of the diseases are diagnosed with the blood test, X-rays, MRI, scan. It's a very huge field. So we can come to know exactly where is the problem, which region or which organ has the problem, and how to solve that problem, hitting the bullseye. But because some kind of information is necessary to name the disease with accuracy to treat the same with perfection, this is the most advantageous thing the Western medicine has. But in TCM, we have solution for almost all the problems and is found to be logical than the Western medicine. The chi, the energy, is divided into two aspects as we understand their quality, like yin and yang, as we are going through. Yin is immaterial, yang is materialistic. Yin produces energy while yang produces a form. Yin generates while yang grows, like a seed is generated into a plant and the plant grows into a tree. Then yin is non-substantial, yang is substantial. Yin is a form of energy while yang is a form of matter. Yin is expansion while yang is contraction, etc. As I mentioned that yin and yang are opposite but also interdependent, compromise and complement each other. They are always in a constant state of dynamic balance, which are balanced by the relative balance levels. Beside the balance, there are four possibilities of imbalance of yin and yang. Like we can say, number one, this is known as preponderance, or you can call it excess of yang. Second is said to be preponderance, or you can say excess of yin. The third is, you can say, weakness. Weakness, or we can call it deficiency. Deficiency of yang. And the fourth is weakness or deficiency of yin. So there are four major things we need to know about the preponderance, like excess, and the deficiency of yin and yang. Like why I wrote preponderance, excess of yang, and the second I wrote excess of yin. I could have written excess of yang and excess of yin, and that I could have written excess of yang, weakness or deficiency of yang. And in other way, the third I would have taken weakness of deficiency of yang or the preponderance of yang. But why I have written, it is to make you understand that if there is excess of yang, like excess of yang or the excess of yin is known as she disease. The excess of yang or excess of yin is being known as she diseases, and weakness of yang or weakness of yin is known as ZanFu diseases. So these are made into two ways of she diseases and ZanFu disease. This was the basic reason to write you first that excess of yang, excess of yin, then deficiency of yang and deficiency of yin. So the deficiency of yang and yin is known as ZanFu diseases, and the excess of yang and yin is also known as she diseases. Now to explain you in a better way, on the first example we will see yin, on the second example we will see yang. Fine. Now this yin, here is excess. So what we need to do, that when this yin or yang is in weak and this yin and yang is in excess, so we need to make the excess energy of yin and yang to equal it into excess of yin and excess of yang to balance it. So from this yang we have to sedate this yang and give tonify energy to this yang. So whichever part or element is deficient, we need to either tonify or we need to sedate. So whenever a particular area or a region or an organ is in excess, we should sedate that towards the area which is like deficient. We should try to tonify that place, and whichever is excess we should try to sedate that. So sedating and accessing this particular yin and yang is, one can say that it balances the thing into a level and which is said to be good health. Yin and yang in Chinese medicine, so understanding this technique and applying in practice is therefore a supreme importance. The day transforms to night, the night transforms to day. But we can just feel the better thing or understanding, like it is summer. Summer brings autumn. Okay. Then autumn brings winter. After winter, it is spring. So when there is summer, the sun and the atmosphere, the climate is very, very hot and too much hot in certain places. But as this is the yang and it is starting to be consumed by yin. So like when I explain you the day changing to night. So then the neutral part comes to autumn, where slowly the atmosphere becomes cold, the leaves and everything they start falling down, and then ultimately there is a snowfall and there is a winter. And after the winter, slowly the yin is being consumed by yang and the spring season starts. Slowly the new leaves they start coming up, the grass starts growing up, and again in the summer the grass and everything becomes green and healthy. The seeds which are taken out plants are being reaped or becoming a tree. So this is the cycle: summer to autumn, autumn to winter, winter to spring, and spring to summer. So this is the thing which is going around anywhere in the whole universe. So the whole universe is based on yin and yang. So any disbalance or anything can make a disease walk in. Like in your body also, there is any problem, there is disbalance or of harmony of yin and yang, then the disease come in. And this disease can be of excess, then it is yang problems. If it is yin, then it is yin problem. So the yang problems, there are heat symptoms, and the excess of yin problems, or yin gives you the cold. So the deficiency of yang is known as deficiency of syndrome, or deficiency of yin also is known as deficiency syndrome. So there are again two parts in it. One is deficient and one is excess. like yin and yang, we have to see that what is excess and we have to sedate that and tonify what is deficient. So everything has an opposite essence and our goal is to stay between this, and staying between this is like helping each other, like the way yin and yang is helping each other. Our body also requires yin and yang. Like for example, if you are doing exercises, so if you continue to exercises, you are not supposed to get the results because you need to get a break. Because it is said by many people that the muscles are not created in gym, they are made into bed or a couch. Why? Because when you go to a gym, you do lifting or any other exercises, weight lifting or any other exercises, you try to make it more and more. So your body is helping you out to do it more and more. But to develop and redevelop that things, you require to give it a time. And to give it a time, you need to take a rest. So when you have done some exercise or weightlifting, then the next day you go. So during the resting period, your body is getting ready to be more efficient, to pick up more of the weight or do more of the exercises to make it in a perfect way. But the same thing goes vice versa, that you are not doing any exercise, you are not making your body active. So what happens? Your body is not going to get the expected results. So the answer is hidden into both extremes. That if you take rest and don't do any activity, so you are not going to be active. And if you are continuous active, then your body is tend to get exhausted and you will have to rest. Like you can see that, for example, I'll give you an example of a wave. So this is a wave which rises from the water, it goes up and then it goes down. So this is said to be yang, this is said to be yin. So from yin it is transformed into yang, and from yang it is transformed into yin. So this is the basic philosophy of the Tao relation. Also Tao religion, so it is in the religion Tao, it is said that you have to be in the middle part, like nothing is 100%, so 50% of yang and 50% of yin is a perfect balance for good health or for anything. Like the seed in yin is the tree as yang, but when the tree dies, numerous seeds, they again become yin, and the numerous seeds will go back to yang. During certain situation, there are exchangeable states, like as I showed you that summer changing to autumn, autumn changing to winter, winter changing to spring, and spring changing to summer. So this yin and yang has its own changing capacity, and when they are exchangeable into state. It differs to yin and yang. For let's take an example. Say I am trying to make it as easy as possible for you to understand, because yin and yang is very important subject. So this is water, this is water, this is also water. Now, what is the difference between these three waters? This is in room temperature. This is ice cold, and normally the steams comes out from the ice also, as you must have seen. And this is hot water, and even you must have seen the steams coming out of the hot water. Now, for this water which is in room temperature, this can be in. For the water which is in the room temperature, this can be in, and for the water in the room temperature, this can be yang. But if the same time, like for this room temperature, for yang, this hot water, the room temperature can be in, and for this ice cold, the room temperature will be yang. So this is the same water, same room temperature, but for this water this is in, for this water this is yang, and for this water, for the same water, for ice cold water, this is yang, because this is cold and this is hot. Which is hotter than this? And this is hot and this is cold, because this is colder than this. So at room temperature water can be yin and yang in a different situations. So even the hot water which is steaming, the steam comes out and becomes cold. This ice cold water which is steaming, the steam comes out, becomes hot. So same thing in our body and in our diseases. Sometimes it can be confusion that the water is there in the room temperature, but for one part it is yin and for one part it is yang. But for the part which is yang, the room temperature is yin, and for the part which is yin, the room temperature can be yang. So it is interchangeable state in yin and yang. We shall look in some terms like 1, like yin and yang. This is like being or not being. So being and not being is what? Being and not being produce each other. Although they are yin and yang, they produce each other. Then we go to the second number. Difficult and easy. So what is this difficult and easy? For example, maths is for some people it is very tough and some people it is very easy. So if you have a sum which is easy for somebody but it can be hard for someone else, but if the formula is known and if the person who knows maths very well can make the person who is ignorant or not knowing about it the formula, so it can be easy for it. So the difficult and easy, what is it? They differentiate but they complement. They complement each other. I am just showing the exchangeable state and some terms which are in Yin and Yang and defined in a different way. Then third, we have long and short. So this is long, this is short. But what does they do? This defines, and what does this define? So long and short, they define each other, that I am long and this is short. The fourth is high and low. So the high and low is opposing each other. One is going upwards, one is going downwards. Like in 5 elements we will understand about this, but in short I will let you know that fire is hot and is yang. So the fire goes up. The fire goes up, and opposite to the fire, it is the water. Water always flows down. So water always go downwards. So when the water goes downwards, so this is high and this is low. Fine. This is hot and this is cold. Because normally the water coming out from the mountains or rivulets and all, they are normally cold and they flow downwards. The water flows downwards and the flames always go up. So the high and low, this is opposite each other. And then we have one more is after and follow. Like you can say you can remove this or you can make it after and before. So what does this define? This define is like they follow each other. Like I am standing in a queue to buy some movie tickets. So there are many people and it is said to be a queue. So I am standing in a queue to buy a movie ticket, and the person just before me is also going to buy the ticket as he is in the queue, and the person after me is also going to buy the ticket as he is in the queue behind me. But this differs is the person who is further to me or before me is that I am following that person, and the person after me is that person is following me, but he is after me. So we follow each other. So each of this example, like I showed you, being or non-being, notice each other. Difficult and easy, they complement each other. Long and short, they define each other. High and low, they oppose each other. Before and after, they follow each other. So each of this example has yin and yang. For example, there is an atom. So we can count this as atom, but the core of the atom is totally energized with positiveness. But the same core is surrounded by various electrons. So this is electrons, this is atom, so the atom is yang, it is positively charged, but the charged electrons around it are negatively charged. So when this negative are charged, then only action can happen. In an easy way, if I explain it to you, that no movement is possible without the opposite movement, and has not occurred. Like there is a door, you go to somebody's place, or if you go to your own house or anywhere, there is a door which is closed. So if the door is closed, you can open it. So if the door is closed, and if you want to open the door, it should first be closed. And if you want to close the door, in first instance, it should be open. So if the opposite movement has not occurred, if the door is not closed, then you cannot open it. And if door is not open, then you cannot do anything. So when the door is open, then only you can close it, or if the door is closed, then only you can open it. If you take in the breath, you need to take it out. If you don't take out, you inhale the breath and you don't take it out, you will die. And if you don't breathe in, then also you will die. So this is a cycle of yin and yang, which is going actively, supporting and depending on each other. One action is dependent on the other, and other cannot do any action without the action of one. So if anybody is pretty, why you can call her a pretty? Because someone opposite to that pretty person is ugly. Or if you say that that girl is pretty, but how can you say that girl is pretty if you have not seen an ugly girl? If you have seen an ugly girl or ugly person, then only you can say that the person is pretty, the person is ugly. You are only rich when the opposite person is poor. So if the person is not poor opposite you, you are not rich. So if the person opposite to you is poor, then you are rich. There is no hero without a villain. If there is no villain in any story or any place, if there is no evil, there is no good. So without hero, there is no villain, and without villain, there is nothing like hero. There is nothing like evil, and there is nothing like good. See, a person can be evil, he can be of a bad mind, but that mind can be changed. So when you meet a person who was a very bad person in your mind, but after few years you meet that person must have changed the mind and have become a good person. And the person you had met, whom you seem to have an effect of good person or an image of a good person, now that good person mind must have changed and have become a bad person. So it depends upon the situation, the places, the interchanging things. So without opposite there is nothing to support your position. Like if you are not poor, then there is no one rich over there. If there is a rich person over there, there should be a poor person. So we learn about yin and yang, but as in few points I had to just put up the things like 5 elements, meridians, channels, ZanFu organs, which is still to go on. Slowly I'll try to make you understand that what is 5 elements.